Good afternoon. I'd like to thank you all for joining us. My name's Kerry O'Shea. I'm the Public Affairs Manager of the Law Institute of Victoria and proud owner of an iPad. I'd like to draw your attention to what we're planning on doing today. If you don't know, the toilets are through there. Just sneak out whenever you need them. And I'd like to advise that we will be taking questions both throughout the sessions and at the end of the session. So if there's anything that arises that you want to ask our speakers, please feel free to do so at the time or keep them for the end if there's something more general. iPhones or other mobile devices, can you switch your phone to silent? But of course you should be able to access wireless in this room, and I hope you're all taking copious notes on your iPads. Can I introduce our two guest speakers today? We're very pleased to be joined by Noah Obradovic and Nusen Ainsworth from Victoria Law School, both of whom have joined us from just around the corner in the old Registry of Births, Deaths and Marriages at 295 Queen Street. Despite being one of Melbourne's youngest law schools, the youngest law school? Perhaps?
I think it's the second youngest now.
Victoria Law School has had a very large impact on the Victorian legal community. Today's program is part of Victoria Law School's 2011 Industry Engagement Program and focuses on the use of tablet computing in the legal profession. This is going to be a growth area for the legal profession, and I'm sure you're as interested to hear from our speakers today as I am about how we can get the most out of these wonderful new devices. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for that lovely introduction. As Kerry said, my name's Noah. I'm from Victoria Law School, just around the corner. Thank you all for coming and for making the time to join in on this very exciting topic. I like to kick off these presentations by apologising. It's always very hard to sort of strike the right chord in terms of the standard. Teaching people how to use an iPad is almost like teaching people how to play an electric guitar. Some people are very good, some people aren't, and some people just want to stick to the acoustic version. So I apologise if some things are a bit over your head, but then I also apologise if some things you're quite familiar with already. So today's presentation, we're essentially going to cover 6 main topics. So the first one is why the Apple iPad. There are essentially over 500 tablets on the market, not including laptops, so why this product in particular. We'll then move into talking about getting content onto the actual device itself. Once that's done, what you can do with that content, how do you annotate documents, how do you produce documents and that sort of thing. We will then move into consuming information, both legal and general commercial information that's out there, and addressing some of the security risks that many of you may have with tablet computing. If we have some time at the end of the presentation, we'll also have a chat about some accessories that may be useful and that we find useful. So can I just add, during this presentation, feel free to butt in, feel free to put your hand up. It's always a lot more exciting when people get involved, particularly with topics like this. So why the iPad?
So, I mean, I guess we'll start with why the iPad, like the Apple iPad, as opposed to any of the other 500 tablets that are on the market. I mean, any day you read the newspaper, you'll see something about some company in relation to some tablet. I mean, the biggest one that comes to mind is the HP touchpad that just came out for like $600, and then there were fire sales around the world for about $100. Just so we get a gauge on you guys. Anybody here? I saw a few iPads, but how many people here have a tablet or an iPad? Okay, how many don't? I mean, I don't mean to. Okay, good. And how many people use it for things other than email and internet? All right, that's good. I mean, essentially, the reason why we choose to do these presentations on the Apple iPad is because the iPad today, and I emphasize the word today, is the market leader in the tablet computing market. The main reason is due to the applications. Now, tablet computing have a unique way of bringing information, and that's through apps. The iTunes Store, which is Apple's way of bringing applications to the market, has about 300,000 applications, whereas the closest competitor would be the Android market, and they're touching 100,000. So while the applications, you want to be where the applications are, because those are where you're able to do much more and many great things. And we're seeing that many people are releasing applications in an Apple format as opposed to other formats.
I think this is a pretty good time to mention as well that we don't actually work for Apple, and I won't be getting a free iPad as I leave this building. So we don't get any kickbacks. We don't have a preference. We don't have any commercial incentives to pick this device. It's just the one that's out there at the moment.
Yeah. Just for those that don't have an iPad, I guess when jumping into the tablet market in the iPads, there's two choices to make. One is memory, and one is, this is just an overview to put everybody on the same page, and the other one is connectivity. In terms of memory, those are there's the 16 gig, 32, and 64, and that's a personal preference as to how much memory you want on your device. And the second decision is the connectivity. There's either Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi and 3G. Each one has its advantages and disadvantages, and that's a personal preference. If you do choose the 3G, you will have to buy a SIM card specifically for the iPad and go on a plan, either postpaid or prepaid. So it really depends on where you're using your iPad and how reliant you are on the internet. I mean, I know myself personally, I generally use it in an office that has Wi-Fi or at home that has Wi-Fi, so there wasn't much value in me buying the 3G version, but that's a personal thing to look at.
So why is it good for lawyers? How do you actually get information from your computer or from your files onto the device itself? The big one is cloud computing. I'm sure all of you have seen this in the media, good or bad, of late. But it's very important to note that unlike a PC or a laptop, an iPad doesn't actually have a central storage repository. Information is generally not actually stored on the device per se. So there's no C drive, there's no My Documents, there's no My Pictures. You can't actually do that on the iPad, and that's been a major criticism. And the reason why you can't actually store information on the iPad is because we're now moving to a stage where we're seeing information stored online through cloud computing. Cloud computing essentially means, in a nutshell, multiple server computers via a digital network as though they were one computer. Now, I'm sorry for reading that, but that's the best description that I could find. What does that mean? It means you can carry your information wherever you go on multiple devices. It means that information is no longer stored on a device per se, but probably stored on a device or on a server in Kazakhstan, somewhere overseas. And that allows you to access information not just from your iPad, but from your phone and from your computer. And we're going to see the same with the iCloud coming this fall. So it'll be coming in a couple of months as well.
Yeah. Besides cloud computing, there's two other ways of getting content onto your iPad. One is via email, and that just works in any other way. You email an attachment, a PDF, and it's there. Another one would be via your USB cable attached to your computer, and that's done through the iTunes program on your desktop. I guess the thing to be conscious of and why cloud computing is being embraced the way it is and developing so fast is because of workflow. And what you have to be conscious of is when working on a document, let's just call it a PDF, if you get it on your iPad and you make some annotations on it, that's all good and fine. You know, you're being very productive, you're on the tram, you're waiting for a client, whatever it is. But then it comes to you needing that on your desktop. You don't know where the most up-to-date version is. And if you're continuously emailing back every time you mark something up, it starts getting a bit messy, and it goes into your workflow and work management. That's why cloud computing, as long as it's saved there, it instantly syncs the latest version, and then you're able to access that on all your devices, whether that be your desktop, your laptop, your phone even, or your iPad. And that way you're always going to be up to date whenever you do access that document from the central cloud depository.